What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Frankie D'Astoli Show. I am your host, Frankie D'Astoli. I think I jinxed myself last week when I dropped an episode saying that we will be dropping episodes of the Frankie D'Astoli Show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 a.m. for every listener out there, whether it's snow, rain, shine, whatever the case might be. I said the only reason why I wouldn't drop an episode is if I'm getting sick. And of course, I'm here and I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today. And I know exactly what it's stemming from. So Bernadette is going through a teething phase right now. She's cutting about 3 teeth. And the other night, in the middle of the night, we wake up and Christina's like, does she feel warm to you? And I feel her and I'm like, she definitely does feel warm, but she wasn't bothered or anything along those lines. But ultimately, Christina's just like, I'd rather play it safe. I'm like, I agree. We take her temperature and she's got a little bit of a fever. So we, give her some Tylenol. It was a whole affair. She was going through it. She was still kind of like sleeping and all of that stuff. But she's cutting teeth and she's going through a teething period. And, it's funny, like as a dad, it's almost like I just accept the fact that I'm going to get sick. And it's not like I'm like, oh my goodness, like get away from me, Bernadette, like don't touch me. Like, no, like we're sharing ice pops together, because she's going through pain, she's still cuddling with us, all of this stuff. We're still giving her kisses. So you just accept it. And I think that's how it kind of happens when you become like a parent, right? And I even look at it as like Jesus Christ. Like Jesus Christ doesn't look at me and say, oh man, Frankie, like you sinned, stay away from me. No, like he continues to pursue me. And that's for all of us, Catholics and Christians, right? Like that is always the case. It's not just myself. And I think that that's kind of like reflecting of us as parents. It's like, your kid's sick doesn't stop me from going over them and giving them a big hug and a big kiss and sharing an ice pop, right? So like just all that to say, it kind of hit me a little bit of like, yeah, I'm probably going to feel it. And yesterday I woke up a little bit and, throat's feeling a little warm. And that feeling when it's like feeling a little bit warm, you're like, oh gosh, like it's on the horizon, it's coming. So you just try to pop as many vitamin C's as you can. I continue to take cold showers because I know that they're great for the immune system. I think most people will resort to, the warm shower feeling, keeping it cold. So we'll see how it plays out. But we continue on. The Frankie D'Astoli Show must go on. And we have an awesome episode in store for you. It's a very real estate focused, jam-packed episode. We are going to go through wholesaling real estate 101. So you guys have heard me talk about wholesaling real estate a lot lately. That's really where I got my basis. And this is going to be another one of those episodes where we're going to do a screen share. I put together a slide deck. A lot of it is kind of compiled from some slides within D'Astoli's Dojo for real estate investing. And I threw some kind of new stuff in there just for the sake of the video for a little bit more of a, compacted video of how to actually present wholesaling in a short period of time, whatever this video will be, 30 to 45 minutes. So I'm excited to present it. And if you guys aren't already following me on Instagram, Frankie D'Astoli _REI, like I keep saying, I am answering every and any DM that comes my way, whether it's real estate, whether it's Catholicism, whether it's entrepreneurship, leadership, any questions that you guys have, I'm answering. And most of the time I am answering within the hour. I will admit this weekend, I was at my sister-in-law's. Her husband was in Mexico for a work trip. He was getting some awards. Very, very proud of my brother-in-law. So I was away. We had a little bit of like a little staycation at my sister-in-law's. So I didn't maybe necessarily reply within the hour for anybody. So if you caught me there, feel free to hold me to it. But for the most part, I am answering every DM within an hour's time, and I'm answering any questions. And in the future, for the Frankie D'Astoli Show, what I do want to do is start compiling some of these questions and do some Q&A, episodes as well. So if you ask a question, not only will your question be answered, but it'll also be beneficial to future listeners that they will get the same exact knowledge that I am presenting directly to you when you ask that question on the show also. So follow me on Instagram, Frankie D'Astoli _REI for real estate investing. And please, guys, feel free to continue to like the show, continue to rate the show, continue to review it, subscribe on YouTube. I'm so appreciative of all of the feedback and everything that's said about the show. It really keeps my mojo, my swag up in a sense, and keeps me coming out with some great content for you guys that I'm really excited about. So this episode, I'm doing the presentation. It will be posted onto D'Astoli's Dojo, REI.com. So feel free to watch the presentation on D'Astoli's Dojo, REI.com. You could also watch the presentation on YouTube video. And on YouTube video will be the entirety of the podcast episode. So on D'Astoli's Dojo, REI.com, I'm just going to post the PowerPoint for the sake of the real estate content. But if you are listening to this on audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of your podcasting platforms, you are still going to gain a ton of value through the audio. I like to make the presentations just because I'm a little bit more of a visual learner. But like I say, please, please, please I do not encourage, I do not recommend, I do not condone note taking while driving. So no note taking while driving. Just listen to the episode. You can always go back and take notes, or you could go back and find the PowerPoint presentation for the visual on either YouTube video or one more time, Dastoli'sDojo.rei.com. Cool. So I'm going to share my screen. Just bear with me for 1 second. All right. So here we go. D'Astoli's Dojo Real Estate Investing presents Wholesaling Real Estate 101. So here's a little bit about me for everybody that's already been listening to the Frankie D'Astoli Show. You've heard this many, many times. If you've watched any of the videos on Dastoli'sDojo.rei.com, or if you're already a member of D'Astoli's Dojo, you already know this about me. But just in case anybody's brand new, I started wholesaling real estate in September of 2021. That's where I got my start in real estate investing. I knew absolutely nothing about real estate before I started wholesaling real estate. I was in medical device sales. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, totally changed the trajectory of my life, and I ended up jumping into real estate full time. Personally, I've wholesaled over $1 million in assignment fees. I've also helped others wholesale over $1.2 million in assignment fees all across the nation. So I've wholesaled in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Kentucky, Ohio, Alabama, Texas, Tennessee. I think I might have done one deal in Georgia, I think somewhere along those lines. So it's been very, very nationwide. I've done a lot of stuff. I've worked in a lot of different markets with a lot of different reps, and that's something I'm very, very proud of. And I continue to add to those statistics through students of D'Astoli's Dojo and just in general helping others as well. I now have transitioned a lot of my focus into building more of that generational wealth piece. So I own a portfolio of real estate properties. I have 17 rental properties, 19 doors, got a couple duplexes in there. I'm also a third-degree black belt in karate, a white belt in jiu-jitsu. That's where D'Astoli's Dojo formed, my mixture between my love of martial arts and real estate investing. I'm also married with a 1-year-old daughter, and I also have a son on the way due in March, which I'm very, very excited about. So what is real estate wholesaling? So real estate wholesaling is a type of real estate investment, same as you would look at like flipping a house or buying a long-term rental or doing some sort of, short-term rental or apartment syndication. It's just another form of investing in real estate. And honestly, guys, one of the best ways that I can really relate wholesaling is it's almost like day trading, right? Whereas like if you buy and hold rental property, it's more so like a long term. Maybe you're buying a stock like, Apple or Disney or something like that. And you're just going to hold it for a very long time. You'll pass it down to your kids, whatever the case might be. Whereas like wholesaling is a little bit more of that faster action, faster pace, more of that day trading mentality where you're getting a property and you're going to move it really quickly. And that's really leads to the next point. Wholesaling, the act of wholesaling is getting a property under contract for a set price and selling the rights of that contract for a higher price. That's very, very important. And that's something I want you guys to understand. When you wholesale real estate, you sell the rights of the contract that you have. You don't actually really even sell property. You just sell pretty much the position that you hold on a contract when you get a property under contract with the seller to an investor. And then that investor takes the property and either flips it or uses it as a buy and hold. And I'm going to break down an example shortly. It is done by targeting motivated sellers and interested buyers. And real estate wholesaling, guys, the way that I boil it down is you're basically a facilitator. Think of yourself as like a connector in a sense, right? You pretty much have a seller who wants to sell their home. You have an investor who's looking for their next real estate deal, and you are the missing piece between those two ends of the spectrum, the person that's looking to sell it and the person that's looking to buy it. So let's get into an example to kind of give you guys a little bit more of a clear picture of it. Let's just say you get a call from Mrs. Jones who's looking to sell her house at 123 Main Street. You meet Mrs. Jones at the property and you talk about selling off market. Again, we've talked about this in the past videos, but off market means that Mrs. Jones's house is not listed by a real estate agent. She's reaching out to you directly. Mrs. Jones expresses her desire for a quick close because she's getting notices from the bank. In this particular example, she's probably in pre-foreclosure. You also could tell the home needs some renovations and would make for a great fix and flip in an up-and-coming area. So you see the potential here. You see the potential as a real estate investment deal. After selling the Dojo way, Mrs. Jones agrees to a price for $100,000 for her property. Again, I pulled these slides directly, some of these slides directly from D'Astoli's Dojo. So the Dojo way, in the Dojo, we talk a lot about acquisitions, working with sellers, negotiating, getting property under contract. So Mrs. Jones agrees to a price for her property for $100,000. After you get it under contract, so now you have a hard copy, a written contract, you get the property under contract, You call an investor friend of yours, let's call him Rocky, being I was, raised in the wholesale business of Philadelphia. Rocky is actively looking for his next deal and is excited about getting this great off-market opportunity that you brought to him so much that he's willing to buy the property for $120,000. You assign the rights of that contract to Rocky for $120,000, and in roughly 30 days, the property closes. After that property closes with the title company, Mrs. Jones gets her $100,000 minus any debt or taxes that she might owe. Rocky gets the property for $120,000, and you make what's called an assignment fee of $20,000. So that, within a nutshell, is an example of how it looks from start to finish, the wholesale deal. You've never actually purchased the property. You sold the rights of the contract. You pretty much sold away your position as the buyer in the contract. And in return, you made $20,000. Now, it doesn't always work that way, right? I've done wholesale deals where I've made $1,000, and I've done wholesale deals where I've made $60,000. So this could definitely range depending on the deal and the analytics of the deal. So let's talk about why you should start wholesaling, and whether you are brand new to real estate investing or you are already an established investor. Wholesaling is a vital piece that could be a part of your business or getting started, and is only going to exponentially grow your knowledge, your expertise, your career, your portfolio, whatever the case might be. So for anybody out there, wholesaling is something that you can and should do, in my opinion. So I'm going to break down, the rest of this video is going to be breaking down these 5 points, but let's just touch on them. It's an easy and affordable way to break into real estate investing. You don't need good credit. You don't need a lot of cash. We're going to talk more about that. There is a market with high demand for it. You can enter and exit as you please. It's another possible investing strategy that can lower risk, and it's also rewarding work. So let's talk about the first one, right? You can start now. When you wholesale real estate, you do not need good credit. You don't need a 700 credit score. You don't need a 600 credit score. You honestly don't even need credit at all. Credit is not something that is looked at. And the reason that is, along with the rest of these points, is you never have to go through an actual bank and get approved because you don't close on the property. Again, you just sell the rights of a contract. Number two, you don't need a tax return or W-2 income, right? So I have someone in my mentorship program right now, and we're working through this because he wants to get into his first house hack. But the problem is he's only been at his job for 1 year. He doesn't have 2 years of tax returns. He doesn't have even 2 years of pay stubs that he could pull up to show that he's consistently earning this W-2 income. He's facing a little bit of a roadblock there. There's a bunch of creative ways that we're exploring, but also wholesaling real estate is something that he does not need those types of things to do. So it's very easy to pivot in and to start his real estate investing career with wholesaling real estate. So if you're in a similar situation, it's great for you there. You also do not need reserves, right? This is a very challenging thing. Some of us live paycheck to paycheck, right? It's very hard to break into real estate investing, to go buy a duplex for, $300,000 and to be able to come to the table with, $60,000. You just don't have those reserves. So with wholesaling real estate, you don't need literally any money in your bank account to start this. It's really crazy. It's an awesome way to break into real estate investing. You should have, now there's a few things that you should have aside from those things that you don't need. What you should have is, number one, a strong work ethic, right? With wholesaling real estate, especially if you really want to generate leads and you want to do it on a professional level, you need a good work ethic. You need discipline. You need focus. You need organization, which is, again, all stuff that we break down in the dojo. You need a vision too. Where are you taking this? Are you going to build a legitimate wholesaling real estate, department and division and company? Are you going to do it part-time, where you do it after your W-2 job and you're still disciplined and you have that organization? Are you going to do this as a stepping stone to break into having a portfolio of rental properties? Or are you going to do this as an addition for a way to make more money through your portfolio already or through your flipping business? A mentor. I highly suggest this. And I'm not just suggesting this because I am a mentor. When I first started wholesaling real estate, I knew absolutely nothing about real estate investing. I had 2 phenomenal mentors that seriously helped me understand it, crushed my learning curve to make it much shorter, and allowed me to actually take off and start doing what I was doing to an effective level. If I didn't have those mentors, I would have quit a lot sooner and I wouldn't be where I am today. So it's very important. And the last thing, an LLC. And I'm not an attorney. Please don't take this as any legal advice. Obviously, of course, entrust your plans with your attorney. But in my opinion, this is exactly what it is. It's just my opinion. You should open an LLC for some form of protection for when you get into real estate investing on any single level, including wholesaling. Number two, there is a market for it, right? So finding a deal in real estate right now, guys, is one of the biggest pain points in the industry. And you see it everywhere, right? You see it in I would say like 85% of all the markets across the US at this moment. And if you are listening, so I have some outside US listeners. Shout out to Italy, shout out to Colombia, shout out to South Africa, Russia. I see a lot of you guys. There's even more than you. Canada. I appreciate all of you guys. I don't know a ton about your particular market, but the same rules apply in so many places around the world. The biggest pain point for investors right now is finding a place to park their money in real estate deals, finding that exact property that meets their needs. And when you are the person that could go in there, do these kind of tactics to find those properties, there is a demand for those people that will buy those properties. When you enter an industry, regardless, not even real estate related, if you're going to go out and you're going to sell widgets, you got to go into an industry where you can either break the industry by selling something new, or you could take what's already going on there and amplify it so that it's better, right, than what's already in that market. Right now, we are in a market where people are dire for real estate deals. If you could go in there and you could be the supplier, you now have a great demand and you're making a lot of money in that industry. And wholesaling is absolutely a piece where that is part of the equation. Investors who flip property or landlords usually do not have the time or the knowledge to find these deals. And this is something that you guys got to understand, because I'm sure some of you guys are probably saying, well, what about these flippers and these landlords? Like, they probably already have good lead flow. They're probably already doing a lot of these off-market tactics to find these deals. That's not the case, I promise you guys. And I can say it from even my own perspective now, being someone who has a portfolio of rental properties. These guys just do not, or girls, excuse me, they just do not have the time. They don't have the time. When they're flipping houses, most of the time they are focused on the projects. They're focused on managing the project managers and the contractors. Their landlords are focused on tenants and property management. They are consistently looking for those deals, whether that's through real estate agents or wholesalers to bring them those deals. So be that missing piece for them. And the last thing, having the skill set to find off-market deals makes you valuable. And for anybody that's listening to this that might say, man, I really want to be a flipper, right? Or I really want to be a buy and hold investor, a landlord. I want to get in short-term rental, whatever the case might be, but you just don't have like that knowledge. There's two ways to really find a mentor. Number one is you could pay to play, right? You could go in there, you could pay to have a mentor and to have them give you value, which is extremely, extremely valuable and a great way to do it. But another one is seek to serve, right? So I've used this personally. I've worked with flippers who I wanted to learn from. I wanted to learn how they go about project management, how they go about property management. And the skill that I provided was finding them the deals to actually do the skills that they know how on those deals. In return, I bring them value. They bring value to me. I learn a ton from them. So that's another great piece. When you could be a successful wholesaler, you could do it, you know how to do it, you become more valuable, you add value to someone else's business, and in return, you get value back. Do it on your own time and terms. This is one of my favorite things about wholesaling real estate amongst a bunch of stuff, right? You can enter and exit as you please. You could literally join wholesaling today and you could leave tomorrow. If you don't want to do it anymore, you don't have to. Or even more so, if you do it for a couple of months and you make some money and you sell off, you wholesale a few deals, you could say, hey, I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to go travel with my spouse and my kids, or I'm just going to, take a couple months off. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to go do something that I'm really passionate about, whatever the case might be. You can enter and exit as you please when it comes to wholesaling real estate. And it really crushes the biggest con of real estate investing, which we've talked about a handful of times on the show. The biggest con of real estate investing is being illiquid, right? When I invest in a real estate deal and I'm investing in a buy and hold property, my money is tied up in that property for at least a period of time until I either sell the home, until I refinance on the home, until I recoup my money through my rental income, whatever the case might be. The money is tied up there. I can't access it immediately. With wholesaling, that illiquid time frame goes out the window because you never even invest any of your own money into the deals. You don't need to do any of that stuff on the front end. So there's no illiquid factor, which makes it super, super attractive in the real estate investing space. You don't have to deal with contractors or tenants, right? So many people don't get into real estate investing because they say, I don't want to fix a broken toilet, even though I'm a landlord. And that's just not how it works. Like, you don't have to be the one that goes out there at 3 a.m. to fix the toilet. You set up, systems and processes to make sure that that stuff's taken care of. With wholesale and real estate, you don't have to deal with any of that. You don't have to deal with managing tenants. You don't have to deal with managing, contractors, anything along those lines. And lastly, on this kind of note, it's a little bit off topic, but you get paid to learn and build your network, right? And that's so valuable. And that's one of the most valuable things, if not the most valuable thing that I got from my wholesaling real estate career. I was literally paid to learn and build up a network that now when I'm investing full time with buy and hold rentals, I have such a strong network and a strong foundation of real estate knowledge. And I got that from wholesaling real estate. When I started real estate investing wholesaling wise, I literally knew nothing. So I owe a ton of it to it. This next one, another tool in the toolbox, right? It adds a potential exit strategy for whatever you already do in real estate. And this is a little bit more for those people that are already in the market, right? You're already doing, whether it's flips or holds or, apartment syndication, whatever the case might be, right? Storage, self-storage, whatever it is. It adds another tool in the toolbox. And why this helps mitigate risk, which is this next point, is because when I go out and I analyze a deal, I look to try to add as many exit strategies as I can to that deal. So if I'm a buy and hold investor and I'm going to go and I'm going to buy and hold this property, I want to know that if push comes to shove, I could also flip this property. Or if push comes to shove, I could also wholesale this property, right? So if I'm on my process, I'm on my way to closing this deal and I find another deal that I like even more, and I say, man, I really want to take that other deal down. I don't like this deal as much as I like the one that's a possible opportunity for me. I'm going to go lock that other deal up and I'm just going to wholesale this deal, and I'm going to use the money that I get from this wholesale deal to buy that other deal, right? Things like that. It gives me options. Or I might say, all right, cool, I'm buying this, I'm taking this property down, I'm going to flip it. And then all of a sudden the market turns and now I'm a little hesitant about my return on that flip. I might be able to just wholesale it to somebody else and they go in there and they take it on and I still make money on the deal. When you know how to wholesale, it adds another tool in that toolbox, which could make you significantly more successful, but also just helps mitigate that risk, gives you a little bit more peace of mind going into your investment strategy. And this last one here, it makes you a better investor, right? When you are able to wholesale real estate, you could add more cash flow to your business because it's another stream of income within your real estate investing. And you could also generate more leads for your business. If you're a flipper right now and you're paying a wholesaler for the deal, that's awesome because you're getting that deal sent to you and you're able to make money on the flip. But just think about if you were actually able to get that lead yourself. Now you would save yourself that $15,000, $20,000 assignment fee, which would be profit on your bottom line, right? So again, if you're already an investor, understanding the wholesale game, learning it, knowing how to do it is an absurdly valuable piece of information to add to your business. And this is the last one, guys. It feeds the soul, right? It's rewarding work. And when I look at my time as a wholesaler, there's more rewarding work, truthfully, when I was a wholesaler than there is buying rental properties, because you end up working with sellers that are in some tough situations. Like I used in the example, that seller was in pre-foreclosure. It's not always that, right? You might have some sellers that inherited a property from a deceased relative and they're going through some grieving. You might have some sellers that live in just distressed houses and they're miserable. They don't have the money to fix up the homes. The house is not heated. It's just a bad situation, or just some sellers that are, they might have lost, I kind of use a similar example. They might have lost their spouse and now the home just has some emotional ties to them that's really hard for them to live in. All these other scenarios that could be, you think it, you name it, whatever it is. In my time of wholesaling real estate, I really, really felt rewarding work. When I would help a seller, they would be extremely appreciative of it. And then even on the back end, when you move that deal to an investor, you're helping them reach their goals, whether they're flipping a property to make money or they're, growing their portfolio. There's a ton of kind of give and take in this business, and it's very, very rewarding stuff. So here I'm going to kind of hit on a couple last points here. Common misconceptions with wholesaling real estate. Number one, you need to be good at sales. This is not always the case. Now, a lot of this stuff, it's going to help if you have these things, right? If you are good at sales, that's awesome. It's going to be a benefit. I came from medical device sales. Medical device sales, most people that know it and understand that it is very much kind of like the cream of the crop business when you get into the health, wellness field of sales. And I was really, really good at medical device sales. But when I actually came over to real estate investing wholesaling, I was actually terrible at sales. And there's a reason behind that. Number one is when I was working in medical device sales, it was very much focused on like follow-up, right? I would meet with a doctor and I would just try to get like literally 5 minutes of their time. And if I got that 5 minutes of time, I wasn't even talking about my product. My main goal was to try to get their phone number and to try to get them on Facebook. Because if I could just build a relationship with them over time, I gave myself a really, really good chance of them giving me future business. But when I jumped into wholesaling real estate, that strategy didn't work, right? I would get a lead. I would go out. I would have to understand how to analyze the deal and all of that stuff. But then I would need to get people to sign a contract on the spot. And that's something that's different with real estate wholesaling versus any other sales usually. You need to get people to commit in the home. That's a big aspect of being successful. So when I jumped into real estate investing, although I came from a sales background, I wasn't very good when it came to real estate sales. So you don't need to be good to be successful. However, if you have that background, it makes it a lot easier. But for instance, this is all stuff that we go through the dojo. I have literally dedicated ranks for acquisitions, for getting property under contract. And I have a handful of students that came in with no sales experience. A good buddy of mine came in here. He literally delivers flowers and he's locking up deals because of the sales tactics that we work through and because of a lot of other stuff that comes along with it. But you don't need to be good at sales, but if you have it, it's really helpful. The next one, you need to be knowledgeable about real estate investing. Again, I say that this is incorrect. When I joined, again, I had no real estate investing knowledge. Now, if you are knowledgeable, that's awesome, but you don't need the knowledge to start. Here's a little controversy with, not necessarily controversy, kind of a little bit of a dichotomy with this. If you are knowledgeable, right, odds are you're not going to make as many mistakes in the beginning. But if you're not knowledgeable, that's okay. You could still join, you could still start wholesaling, but be prepared to make mistakes. And that is totally fine. I've made countless mistakes. It's what you take from those mistakes that make you better. The next one, you need to spend thousands of dollars on marketing. Again, a Fugazi view. If you have any questions about this view, go back and listen to my episode, How to Invest in Real Estate Investing Without Breaking the Bank. I created a presentation PowerPoint for that one as well, but I show you how to literally get into wholesaling, how to get into real estate investing with $0 out of pocket. So that is not true. Now, again, if you have thousands of dollars to spend on marketing, that's awesome because you're going to generate more leads. You're going to have a better chance of increasing that ROI, but you do not need it to get started in wholesaling. This last one is one of my favorites. You need to lie to people and tell them you're buying the property. This is something that really drives me crazy when I'm in this business. I've seen it so many times. If I'm talking with sellers and they say, yeah, I have someone that's ready to buy the house. They're the end buyer. And then 9 times out of 10, they come back to you 2 weeks later and they say, hey, they ended up backing out. They weren't really the buyer. They were trying to get somebody else to buy it. And they were just holding me pretty much hostage in my contract, right? When we sell the dojo way, when we talk about this in D'Astoli's dojo, we never tell the sellers that we are buying the property. It's always straight up. Mr. or Mrs. Jones, my name's Frankie D'Astoli. I'm, an investor in the area. What I really do is I connect real estate investors who are looking for off-market deals similar to yourself, and I connect them to buy the property. And I come in here, I talk with you, I see if we're a good fit. I talk about some numbers with you. We see if we can come to an agreement on price and terms. And if it works out, I bring it to my investor network and they come in and they purchase the property. And if I do my job correctly, it works every single time. Now, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed. We may hit some bumps in the road. We may need to talk about some price adjustments. We may need to talk about extending a closing date. But as long as we get, if we do our job on the front end here, it's going to ensure that we have as fast and as smooth of a closing as possible. Something along those lines. That's based off the, off the hip. But always being honest, always having people's best interest at heart. When you have people's best interest at heart, guys, they never really will look at you in a negative way, right? But if you tell them you're buying it and then you start bringing in some people in there and all of a sudden nobody wants to buy it, well, now you have a lot of friction, a lot of animosity, and there's really, you're going to have a tough time, mending that relationship. So that's one thing. Do not lie to people. Tell them straight up that you're investing, that you are, going to be bringing their property to investors in your area. And again, all stuff that we go through in the dojo. So I'm going to wrap up here with a guide map to how to start wholesaling real estate. And again, I'm breaking this down into a very small, compact list here, but this is really how it would start. You're either going to pull a list of leads or do some sort of organic lead generation. Again, if you need to, go back and listen to how to, get your next real estate deal without breaking the bank. We talk a ton about that type of stuff. After you either pull that lead, those leads, or you do that organic lead gen, you're going to make contact with those potential motivated sellers. And you could do that a handful of ways. You could call them, you could text them, you could email them, you could send them a piece of direct mail, you could go door knock. There's so many opportunities that could be broken down on how to actually make that contact. After you make that contact, let's just say you maybe set up an appointment with the seller. You're then going to want to analyze that deal. You're going to want to understand like, what are my comps, right? What's my after repair value? What do I need to get this property for under contract? Then you're going to negotiate that contract price, right? The seller might want $200,000 and your price needs to be $100,000, right? So you're going to negotiate, you're going to enter into that. And at the end of that, you're going to secure the property under contract. You're going to get the rights to sell that home. Next, you're going to reach out to an interested investor in your area who may be wanting to buy that property. And if you do get that person to want to buy that property, you're then going to assign the rights of that contract to the investor for a higher price, right? Remember the example where you had the property under contract for $100,000. We, assigned those rights to Rocky, who bought it for $120,000. After that, you're going to close the deal with the title company, and then you are going to strut to the bank and you are going to cash your check. And that, within a nutshell, is how to wholesale real estate. So thank you guys so much for listening. I really, really appreciate it. I hope that you gained a ton of value out of this episode. Again, follow me on Instagram, Frankie D'Astoli _REI. You could find this presentation at D'Astoli's Dojo, REI.com, where you could also find a course on wholesaling real estate, or also my 4 tiers of mentorship programs if you're looking for a mentor as well. And mentorship does not need to just be on wholesaling real estate. I have people in the mentorship program where we focus on buying their first house hack. We focus on scaling their portfolio, anything along those lines. And if you enjoy the show and you want to go into D'Astoli's Dojo, REI.com, and get one of those programs or one of those courses, you could use the code TFDS10 for 10% off on all courses and mentorship programs. That is for the Frankie D'Astoli Show. And if you are listening to the Frankie D'Astoli Show, one more time, I appreciate it. Please feel free to rate, review, like, subscribe, any of those things that kind of, add feedback or whatever it is to the show. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. Look forward to seeing another one. And remember, pray the rosary, buy real estate, do it every single day. Stay within touch within that spiritual poverty, and also generate generational wealth. Thank you guys.